Hello there and welcome to this part 2 of a beginner's guide to fly fishing. Today we're out on the lawn and in this video we're going to talk about how to get started with the actual fly casting. In part 1 we talked a lot about the gear and exactly how to put all your gear together, all the nuts and what a fly line is and so on. But today we're gonna actually go cast. So the first thing we need is of course to put the rod together. And this is a TFO rod, a really good rod, both for the beginner but also for anyone. And on the TFO, it has some dots to indicate exactly how your rod should be facing. Another good trick is basically just to put your rod together and then make sure the guides on the rod here are aligned. And as you have attached all the parts here, you can basically just look across the blank here and see if the guides align through the reel. Okay, so now it's time to actually load the rod with the fly line, and I just pull out some line that I need here. And instead of just taking the tip of the leader and putting that through the guides, I pull out more line than that, and basically I just double my fly line and put that through the guides. Because if you do that, you will very easily see if you've forgotten a guide. So basically, get the line through all the guides. That's pretty important. Yeah, and once that is accomplished, yeah. What you'll see here is today we're gonna cast on the lawn here, so I have not attached a fly, but what I've done instead is basically just taking a very bright orange piece of yarn, and this is to have something that mimics the fly. So it's not the actual fly, because that would be annoying to catch the lawn all the time, but this will behave like a fly out in the wind and will give you a more lifelike experience of the actual fly cast if you have something in the end. Another thing that's why this is important is if you don't have this, you will very easily mangle your leader. So put one of these on here, then it's this woolly yarn here that will get mangled from your casting, not anything else. With that done, basically the rod is now loaded. We have the fly line through the guides, and all we have to do now is start casting. So now the rod is ready to cast with. One of the first thing that is important is how you want to grab the rod, how you want to hold the rod. And the way I do it is basically kind of like a handshake, or how I would hold a hammer or something like that. I just grab the rod and hold on to the rod as it feels right. Some people likes to have a finger here to kind of guide the rod. I don't like that grip, and other people like to have the thumb really hard here to press a lot. But basically I just grab the rod like I would grab a hammer, or how I would move in for a handshake. In these corona times it's not something that we do that often, so if you have forgot, the basic movement is this. So now I have a firm grip on the rod, I have the line through all the guides, and the next thing is I want to cast farther than these 3 meters, so I want to pull out some more line. And here is a very important thing, because if you just start casting and you pull the line while you're casting, then what happens is that you pull the line across this bar here on the reel, which will take quite a lot of strain on the fly line, and this will very much lower the lifespan of your fly line. So when you start casting, whenever you start casting, it's a good idea to pull like this. I'm going to do it on the side. So drop the reel to the side so you can see. So pull the line straight like this, all the line that you need, so you don't cut it over the edge of the fly reel here. Basically, you do like this, and you pull out all the line that you need. So now we have a decent amount of line here, and now it's time to start the actual fly casting. If you haven't done this before at all, then the general idea is to get your rod to do as much of the work as possible. And in order to make sure that your rod do all the work, there is a few key elements. The first thing is there is some angles on which this fly cast works the best, and when you start out, it's guidelines, but it's good guidelines that the angle that you hold your rod is, if you imagine that there is a clock here, then it's from approximately 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So about this angle with the fly rod is a good guideline for the actual angle. The next thing is you want to use your arm as much as possible. So instead of using your wrist, which will tire you out really quickly, and also not provide the rod with the right loading, then you need to use your arm. So a key feature is use your wrist as little as possible. Instead of using your wrist, what I do is basically, I'm gonna show you with my left hand here because that's probably easier. There is an angle here between my shoulder and my hand, and then I'm gonna tighten that angle by lifting the rod and pointing my elbow out. So basically, I'm gonna narrow the angle here, and this will have the rod pointing backwards to approximately 10 o'clock. And when I make the forward cast, what I basically do is I take my elbow and I put it back in place. This will, if everything here is sturdy and fast, this will force the rod to bend. And when you force the rod to bend, it will slingshot the fly line off into the horizon. Hopefully. So that's the basic things from around 10 to 2 o'clock, and do not use your wrist. And this will also make your fly line have the smallest line curves as possible. When you look at the line in the air, it will describe a kind of a line, a loop in the air, and the smaller you can make that loop, the less wind resistant your fly line will encounter. If the loop is very wide, there will be on the front of this line, there will be a lot of air for the fly line to pass through, and this will mean more resistance, and more resistance will mean less distance. So the tighter you can make your loop, the further you will be able to cast. So tight loops from around 10 to 2 o'clock. And use your wrist as little as possible. And then it's basically just to start casting. I recommend that you get a bit of line out there, maybe 5 meters or so, and then basically just start practicing this angle, this thing with putting your elbow in the right places and looking at your loop and seeing how it feels, how it looks in the air with the fly cast. And then gradually, as you start feeling this is working, you can, with the other hand here, you can release a small amount of line every time you feel like the line would like to travel. And then, before you know it, all the fly line will go out there. When you look at this, it's a whole. So it's a complete cast. So you cannot only focus on the fly line in front of you. It's very important, very crucial that you concentrate on the fly line behind you, because it's not possible to make a great fly cast if your back cast is not working as well as your front cast, of course, as your forward cast. So both the line as it moves in the air behind you is important, and also the line as it moves in front of you is important. And a good small piece of advice is, if you have a friend or a spouse or a child or whatever, bring them along to hold your phone for you and then videotape how it looks when you cast. Because when you see yourself and you see yourself what you're actually doing, then it's so much more easy for you to go back to this video, look at what I was saying and look at how I'm doing it, and then you can correct yourself very efficiently and a lot better than if you're just standing here on your own and basically not having as good a view of what exactly you're doing and what you're doing that could be corrected or could be improved. So when I mentioned this with the video, it's because it's a good idea, because otherwise many people will have a tendency to start looking behind them to see how the line are moving in the air behind them. And if you do that, you tend to pivot and to move, and this will make your back cast kind of go in a wide loop and not be as good as if you just know or just feel that it's right. So it's okay to look behind you, but be careful not to move your entire body so you skewer and make your back cast worse, because you have to observe yourself. So a good thing is about this is to use the video thing I was talking about. Another thing is that many fly lines, this one is a Volensis line from Scientific Anglers, have, as I said in part 1, have a specific part of this line that is the line that has all the weight, which is the weight we're going to use to actually cast the fly, which is the whole idea about this fly fishing, is that the fly is too small and don't have enough weight on its own, so we have to have some additional weight, which is the fly line. And many fly lines have different colored sections that you can use as guidelines to when it's time to actually let go of your fly line, because this is the correct weight that's out of the eyes now, in order for the rod to load properly and to send your fly into the horizon. So as you can see now, the orange part is out of the tip of my rod now, and this is a sign for me to know that now I have the correct weight out of the guides, out of my top guide, and now it's time that I think about actually releasing the line. So now I've managed to cast the line all the way down there to the other end of this lawn, and now I want to retrieve it. And the thing about how you do that is basically you take your index finger here, you place the line here, then you can control it, and you basically just retrieve your line like this. You'll completely have control of the line here, and then you can pull it back towards you, and you are now ready to try again. This is also how you retrieve your line when you're fishing. So, put the fly line there, retrieve the line, and then start over. Rinse and repeat, and do that for about 1,000,000 times, then you're probably quite good. The last step in this fly fishing, and in order to become a fly fisherman who casts really well and really long, is a technique that's called the double haul. And the double haul is the most vital, essential element of being a good caster that casts really long. So when you're just starting out fly fishing and you're practicing, you're not using your left hand for anything but... I caught my... It happens to everyone. You're not using your left hand for anything. Basically, you could just put it in your pocket because you can control everything with the right hand. But the left hand is going to play a very crucial and very key element in this fly cast, in this double haul. And what the basics about the double haul is we're going to use the left hand to actually accelerate the fly cast in our back cast, but also in our forward cast. And I'm just going to show you how it looks when I do this, and then I'm going to break it down and explain it point for point, exactly what I'm doing. So now I've retrieved all my line, I'm going to start a new cast, and basically, as you can see, as I move the line out, my left hand all of a sudden starts moving a lot on its own, or not on its own, but starts moving a lot, and that's the double haul. And the double haul basically is you're using your left hand to pull on the line, to making the line that is in front of you or behind you, to make that shorter mid-cast, which will speed up, very increasingly speed up the line speed, giving you the ability to create a shorter, a smaller, a less wide loop, allowing you to cast further. And the general idea here is you use your left hand to perform this motion, and this motion is not easy to get the timing of. If you're a drummer or something like that, it probably will come a lot easier for you to do this. But if you're not, and I most certainly am not, I couldn't hold a beat if my life were on the line. But I managed to get this double haul technique to master this, so you will as well. So the idea is that you use your left hand to perform a down-up motion. You first pull your hand behind you down and then back up in order to give the fly line time to travel behind you, but also so you're ready for the next haul. So basically what you're doing is down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And if you think of the motions as down, up, and you do that in one, you don't have to think of 4 steps, you only have to think of 2. And when you think of 2 steps, it's a lot easier to do this than in 4 steps. So down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And when I demonstrate this, it's because I have to demonstrate it, it doesn't look as good as if I would just casting, you know. Down, up, 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 down, up. And of course, the pace at which you do this depends a lot on the fly line and exactly how much line you have out and stuff like that. But it will feel, as you start progressing with this and as you start practicing, the more you practice, the more natural these motions will become to you. But think of the double haul as 2 motions that is basically the same: down, up, and down, up. This will make it much, much easier. And the double haul is, as I said, the most crucial factor in order for you to get some more distance in your fly cast. So, when you get your hands on your first fly rod and you want to go out practice, do not try to implement and to try all of these things that we talked about in this video out all at once from the first second you start. Do things gradually and in steps, because everyone has to crawl before they can walk or even run. And so basically start out having a bit of line out, getting the feel of the rod, getting the feel of the line, and getting the angles under control. Then start looking at your back cast, start looking at your forward cast, start pulling a bit more line out, and once you feel a bit at home with this, with the motions, with the feelings, you have your wrist pretty firmly locked and all the things that I talked about, then and only then start to apply and to test out this double haul technique, because it is, as I said, the most crucial part of getting of casting your fly really, really far. But if you try to do it all at once from the get-go, you probably will not be able to do any of the steps very good. So take it a small portion of a time, a bit of a practice, maybe a practice session at a time, and then once you feel comfortable with the basics, then start on the next thing. Start looking at the next thing. Start looking at the next thing, and I got a tree. Just when I wanted to release the line. That happens all the time. And when you're ready, and you can easily move on to the next part. So I think that's about sums it up for the fly casting here on the lawn. All you have to do is now to take this and then go fishing. Once you feel comfortable with your fly cast and that you can get a bit of line out. And if you go for a lake or a stream or even the coastline or wherever you want to go fishing, a lot of the fish, most of the fish are caught in the from where you stand and then 10 meters out. When you fish on the coast, for instance, most of the fish will be very close to you, so you do not need to cast 30 meters in order to catch a fish. And the best way of becoming a really, really good fly fisherman is to leave your conventional fishing gear at home and only bring your fly fishing gear, because if that's the only option you have and you have a lot of hours to fish, you will fish with that option, and that will improve you even more than anything else. TFO is great value for money. It's just incredible.